Okay, so in the slide before, we had just subtracted 75 and 12 and 345 thousandths, and we got our answer of 62 and 655 thousandths. So now we have to explain in words how you solve the problem using at least 2 vocabulary words. Okay, so the very first thing that we did, that we want to tell everybody that we did, is we line up the digits and decimal points vertically by their place value with a larger number on top. So first, line up the digits and decimal points vertically by their place value with the larger number on top. Next, we want to say what we did to that 75. Okay, so we added a decimal point and added 3 zeros. So next, we place a decimal point after the 5 and 75 and added 3 zeros as placeholders. Okay, then this is where we're not going to give each place value number that we placed under in order to line up our decimals and digits. We're just going to give 2 examples. Okay, so the first one we're going to say is then we line the the ones digit of 2 and 12 and 345 thousandths under the 5 and 75, because that 2 is in the ones place and then the 5 is in the ones place, so they have to line up vertically based off their place value. After that, we lined up the 10th digit of the 3 and 12 and 345 thousandths under the 0 and 75 that is in the tens place. So you would say after that, line the 10th digit of 3 and 12 and 345 thousandths under the 0 and 75. Okay. So after that, line the 10th digit of 3 and 12 and 345 thousandths under the 0 and 75. Okay, and make sure it's the 0 that's in the 10th place value. Okay, it's the one that's closest to the decimal point. Okay, you can even say that under the 0 that is closest to the decimal point in 75. Okay, then lastly, you drop down the decimal point straight down in your answer place and begin at the ones place, subtracting the digits from the right to left, regrouping as needed. So you say, lastly, drop down the decimal point straight down in your answer place and begin at the thousandths place, subtracting thousand place, comma, subtracting the digits from right to left, regrouping as needed. Okay, and then you're going to say in the end, when you evaluate the difference of 75 and 12 and 345 thousandths, you get 62 and 655 thousandths. And let me make sure I spelled difference correct. Okay, so now I have what I used, and I wrote my 6 sentences of what I did to get my answer, and now I have to put it in a paragraph. So there are two ways that you can do this. One way is you can sit here and type each sentence in that you have here. The other way you can do it is you can go into each box, double click what you have, and copy it. But you have to, when you copy it, make sure that you're placing your cursor before you copy the next sentence in after the period of the previous sentence. Okay, because if you don't, it's just going to come up with all your sentences in a row and it's going to be all over the place. So you want to make sure that you are properly copying and pasting. If you're not comfortable with it and you think you're going to make mistakes, please just type it in. Okay, so you would type your first sentence. And remember, our paragraphs. So I'm going to copy all my sentences in. My cursor is after the decimal point, and you notice it added it right after my sentence. There's no enter, there's no space, there's no nothing. It added it where it is. So I put my cursor after the sentence, copy it. Remember, it's Control C for you to copy, paste it. It copied right after that sentence. Go to my decimal point, copy, paste it right after the sentence. And you notice how it looks like a paragraph's forming. Then your next one, you just double click your words and you paste it, okay? And then your last sentence, copy, double click, oops, and you'll paste it. Now remember, when you have this, and this will be out of your way, okay? When you have this, you can also make it go so it's off the page a little bit so you don't have to worry about it running into the words above for your directions. Now you know with paragraphs you have to indent. So you have to indent your paragraph, okay? And then I recommend rereading it to make sure it makes sense. First, line up the digits and decimal points vertically by their place value with the larger number on top. Next, place a decimal point after the 5 and 75 and Next, place a decimal point after the 5 and 75 and added 3 zeros as placeholder. We can say add and add 3 zeros as placeholders. Then line the ones digit of 2 and 12 and 345 thousandths under the 5 and 75. After that, line the 10th digit of 3 and 12 and 345 thousandths under the 0 that is closest to the decimal point in 75. Lastly, drop the decimal point straight down in your answer place and begin at the thousandths place, subtracting the digits from right to left, regrouping as needed. In the end, when you evaluate the difference of 75 and 12 and 345 thousandths, you get 62 and 655 thousandths. Now remember, it's telling you to use 2 vocabulary words. So our vocabulary words that we're using is the evaluate, and I'm going to highlight them for you so you know we use 2, and difference. Okay, so those are our words, and I'll even highlight them in your graphic organizer over here. Okay, and you have those 2 words as your vocabulary words. So you know that explain in words how you solve the problem. Here are my words, and at least 2 vocabulary words. And my 2 vocabulary words are evaluate and difference. Okay, so we're going to get better at writing, and this is one of the ways that's going to help us.